Hey guys, it's your boy, the Black Phantom, formerly known as the Black Phantom HD. Glad to be with you guys once again. Another year, another comic book haul. I know it has been quite a while, but I have been, let me tell you something, guys. I have been so less stressed about when it comes to collecting because collecting these days have gotten extremely expensive, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that story as I go through the video, just because I've just been so less stressed about collecting in general these days. But first, before I get the video started, as you know, in some of my previous videos, I do in fact write comics right now, and this is my new comic book line called Super Tiger. It's a shonen comic book. It really combines the idea of comic books, American comic books, and Japanese manga, and I combine those two formats into the comic book genre format. And this is my newest line. I currently have 3 issues. This is issue 1. I actually signed this for a customer because I got a order in on the TikTok shop, but I do TikTok shop, and I also have a website below, and you can also read all these comics digitally for free as well. But the physical copies are paid for, but the digital copies are free. But I'm about, I want to say, 3 issues in so far. It is 3 issues in. This is the issue 2. I also do have a issue 2 variant cover right here. This is actually my last copy. This is the 1 in 10 variant of issue 2. And then most recently, I just came out with issue 3 right here. So yeah, this is sort of the main series I've been working on for the last about year or so. I released 3 issues in a year, which I'm very proud of, to be honest, to be able to put determination and focus into this series. And I have 2 more issues before the conclusion of the first story arc. So if you're wanting to support independent creators, I do, like I said, I do have a website. I'll link down in the description below, and then I also will link down the description. I upload all of my comics on a digital website called Global Comics, which you can read for free as well, and I will link that all together down there if you want to support my work and just, independent comic book artists and writers to begin with. So there is that. Now on to the main portion of the video, sort of skipping the self-sponsor. So yeah, I've just been so I've always been so stressed about the fear of missing out when it comes to FOMO in comic book collecting, and I think it has gotten it really got a bad habit into me of buying unnecessary books. I know for the last year or so, I always said to you guys as I'm making these videos that I wanted to focus less on buying random issue books like classic covers. I mean, I will make exceptions for some books depending on the book it is, of course, especially Golden Age books. But really, when you're collecting comic books, typically the most value of your collection is going to be those key issues, and mostly first hero appearances. I mean, I know some people say villain appearances as well, but really it's the first appearance of hero characters that will garner the most value out of your collection. And one of the things that I have in fear while I'm collecting these books is, a market crash. And these books will just become dirt cheap later on. And one way to preserve your collection for, future volatility is to only focus on books of first appearances of characters that people enjoy. For example, Luke Cage, #1, first appearance of Luke Cage, one of the few first black Marvel superheroes, and he's been featured in a bunch of TV shows and movies these days. Not a well-known hero by any means until he probably gets a movie later on if they do decide to give him a movie. But it's always been a book I wanted to have back in the day, but I just, I've always one-offed it, said I don't really need it, but then I found this one at a good deal at my local comic book shop, and I decided to pick it up. I mean, I had some store credit and did some cash, and I really just picked this up for $100, which I guess still would have been overpaying if I was collecting not even 7 years ago. But it's a book I've always wanted to have, and that's one of the things that stresses me out. That used to stress me out at the back end. I used to spend so much money on these random one-off issues of classic covers and all this other nonsense, and it's almost like watching your bank account slowly bleed away, a little by a little. And that's not something that I really wanted when I'm collecting. I want to, not only have joy in collecting, but I also want to have value and importance. And that's the end all goal of collecting. I mean, you don't collect when you're collecting classic cars. You don't decide you want to collect classic parts of cars. That's sort of redundant, and that's what I felt like I was doing when I was collecting these issues that didn't really have that much significance behind them. Because at the end of the day, I know people don't really think about this a lot, but comic book collecting is, how do I say, it's almost like a car salesman. It's almost like a car salesman business. People who have all the demand, people who have all the supply, aka the dealers, the collectors, the people who have been collecting for 50 plus years, who hoard books in their basement. They have the supply and they have the businesses. So what they're going to do to you is they're going to sort of instill in your mind that this particular book, no matter what happens in the book, this is going to be $1 million book one day. And that's the thing about comic books that most people don't understand, is that these people, whether it's on eBay, whether it's your local comic book shop, whether it's something else, they're going to try to upsell you. They're going to try to charge a nickel and dime you and tell you that this is the best thing since sliced bread. And I've heard it all the time. I've heard it at my local comic book shop. The owner there, who's a really nice dude. Don't get it twisted or anything. But there have been a couple of times where I've seen him interact with customers, and I would see him trying to, upsell a certain book. Oh, this is the third appearance of a character. This is the first cover appearance of a character. This is the origin of a character, and all of that stuff really doesn't matter at the end of the day. I guess if it matters, if in a sense that there's a market for it right now, but later down the line, will there be for that book? And that's why I like to play it safe with getting first appearances of characters. And if there's no finite, definitive first appearance of a character like Hulk 180 and Hulk 181, I personally believe 180 is the first appearance. But apparently the eBay and the comic book community decide otherwise. In that case, I guess it's safe to get both books just in case. But yeah, I'm getting too ahead of myself. But this is an Amazing Spider-Man 28. This has two significance. This is the first appearance of one of his enemies named Molten Man, which I thought was an underrated character in some of the Spider-Man cartoons out there. And this was actually the first time Peter Parker graduated high school, and that is a very significant issue in my book. But as I was saying before about nickel and diming, there are a few instances where I will collect like miscellaneous issues, one being Amazing Spider-Man. Spider-Man's my favorite character, and two being probably Static, because Static doesn't have a trade paperback of his old collection. I think actually DC just quite literally last week released a trade paperback of the Static Shock Milestone collection, but it's in the new format with the new paper and all that stuff. I really want an old newsprint feel. If it's like a book made previously to 2000. I kind of want like a newsprint version of that book. I'm just so in particular about that. Like for the Swamp Thing, Alan Moore Swamp Thing. If I'm going to read Alan Moore Swamp Thing, I want like a newsprint, a trade paperback that has like that old newsprint feel to make it feel like the old book as if I'm reading. That's just a thing about me. I'm sort of nitpicky. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 28, first appearance of Molten Man and the time that Peter Parker graduates college. This is actually a book that I've had years and years ago, but it was in restored condition. This is a completely unrestored copy. Doesn't look too half bad. Didn't pay that much for it. I think I only paid like 70 or 80 bucks for this. So for a Spider-Man comic unrestored, the black looks decently good. I think I'm happy with my purchase. This one right here. Oh, that's bad. Don't want to be dropping my comic books. This is one of the more bigger purchases of the year. It wasn't really that big of a purchase because I had store credit. I did half store credit, half cash. And this is Amazing Spider-Man Annual #1, first appearance of the Sinister Six. This is one of the things I'm talking about when it comes to comic book buying issues that have significant value. Really, if you really put this at face value, this is not a significant book whatsoever, honestly. I mean, I see a lot of people say it's the first appearance of the Sinister Six, but all these characters right here already appeared in earlier Spider-Man issues. Now, you can make the argument that it's the first supervillain team up, but it's kind of not. That was Fantastic Four issue issue number 6, when Submariner and Doctor Doom teamed up. So it isn't really the first appearance of anything outside of just the Sinister Six, but the Sinister Six is really just a group. And that can be said for the same thing as the Justice League of America, the Avengers, etc. I mean, those books at their face value don't really have that much significance, but I think these books also have a safe margin when it comes to your collecting, your collection, the value of your collection later down the line, just because these books are so old, they're limited in quantity, and the groups that these characters often represent in are popular. So I don't think there's an issue going with books like this, even though they might not have the biggest significance of value. And this one was a 4.0 that I got. And like I think I paid like $300 out of cash out of here. One of the things that I do nowadays is whenever I read new comic books, because I still do actually read newer comics, once I'm done reading them, I will trade them in at my local comic book shop, and the guy typically just gives me store credit for it. Even if it's only a store credit of $1, that adds up, and then you can use that to purchase, back issues. And I like doing that because if I were to just have all these new comic books and then throw them away, I can either throw them away or sell them on eBay for their full retail value. But selling on eBay doesn't really translate that often because most people go to local comic book shops anyway, or they buy directly from Marvel and DC. So trying to find people to purchase these new comic books on eBay with shipping is kind of redundant, to be honest. I mean, I would be basically losing money when I do that, and I would also be losing the full amount if I threw them away because I'm getting nothing for it. But at least trading them into the comic book shop, I actually get some value out of those books after reading them, and I can put towards bigger issues because he actually allows me to put them towards key comic books. But anyway, this is Amazing Spider-Man 42. I can't remember what the significance of it. I think this was the first cameo appearance of Mary Jane Watson. The Face It Tiger, you hit the jackpot, I believe. I think that was in this issue. Fact check me if I'm wrong. It's either this issue or the next issue, but you know, joke's on y'all. I actually have the next issue just in case. I think this is the first full appearance of Mary Jane Watson, and the other one was the first cameo appearance. Two books I've always wanted to have. Like I said, Spider-Man is going to be a book that I will probably collect every single issue of, if given the chance to, just because I like the character so much. He's my favorite superhero, and I will try to collect at least I'll try to collect issue 1 through 400, because I think 1 through 400 will be my base minimum of collection, and then possibly get an Amazing Fantasy 15 if I'm super rich later down the line, unless that book suddenly goes up to the valuation of Action Comics #1 by the time I'm a grown adult, which is not too far off. It feels like a blink of an eye since I first started this channel and started posting these collection videos. I think I was like, oh man, I think I was like 13 or 14 when I first started these. Because I think my first comic book haul video on this channel was back in 2014 or 15. I was probably around 14 or 15 during that time. And now I am 26, about to turn 27 early next year. So yeah, I'm getting pretty up there. It's going by in the blink of an eye, so to speak. But for the manga pickup of the video, because I collect manga now, I collect old manga and some new manga. This is Weekly Shonen Jump number 42 of 2023, I believe. This is the first episode of the Kagurabachi story series. The main character here, Chihiro. And this is one of I've been reading this series. I've been catching up on this series lately. This is actually one of my favorite shonen series in a while. I kind of been turned out from a lot of shonen series lately, just because it's a lot of repetitiveness, and really this one is kind of a little repetitive too, but it does it in a way that makes it interesting. I've gotten tired of One Piece, because I do like One Piece. One Piece is actually my favorite anime of all time, but it just got so repetitive after the time skip back in the late 2000s, where they did a time skip, and it just seems like the series hasn't been the same since then. I have dabbled in a few shonen series since. It took me a while to get into Jujutsu Kaisen, but I eventually ended up getting into that. Frieren, I don't consider Frieren a shonen, even though it debuted in a magazine called Weekly Shonen Sunday. And Don it's sort of hit or miss depending on the episode. I enjoyed the first couple of episodes. There were some WTF moments in the episodes, but this one is one of the true shonen series that I actually liked. Going into it, it didn't take me a couple of tries to get into it. I just instantly hit it off with the main character and the plot line, and especially the art style. I really enjoyed the art style in this book, and this is the actual first appearance of the character imported from Japan. It's going to be a lot harder to collect these issues with the tariffs and all on products coming into the United States. You have to really be careful about what you buy now. I believe if it's over $100, if your subtotal is over $100, you're going to get tariffed, and that will probably cost a pretty penny. So I definitely have to be more careful of that now. But yeah, this is Fantastic Four 48. This is the first appearance of Galactus and the Silver Surfer. Some comic book salesmen, as I like to call them now, salesmen, will say Fantastic Four 49 is the first appearance of Galactus, but it's really, it says it right here on the cover. The coming of Galactus. Galactus appears in the last 2 pages of the book. He's named. He's fully clothed. Everything. His name is on the cover. I mean, you can't get any more clarification than this. I mean, obviously, people will try to upsell the next best thing, which is 49, trying to make 49 like the Hulk 181 and the Amazing Spider-Man 300. And don't get me wrong, I love Amazing Spider-Man 300. That's my favorite comic book of all time. But this is just really how it is. I got this picked up before the Fantastic Four movie came out. I got it at a good deal. I think I paid like $300 for it. And I think I got a good deal. Why not? This book, I would say, is holding steady. As of now, I don't know what the valuation of this book will be going down, just because of how the Fantastic Four movie handled them. I mean, they can always do the multiversal thing, but Galactus was he wasn't weak in the movie by any means. It just felt like he was barely there, and then they just kind of flew him away. So I don't even know if he'll be in the MCU again. And if a character's not in the MCU or in movies in general, the valuation of a book tends to go down a little bit. So definitely one thing to watch out for if you're a collector of Fantastic Four comic books in general. It seems like these books have just been artificially propped up heavily due to the movies, and the valuation of these books have been way overvalued what their normal price was just because of the movie. And I think some of it has gotten ridiculous. I mean, Fantastic Four #1 basically tripled overnight, and a lot of these Fantastic Four books really tripled overnight because of the movie. So that's one thing to be aware of when collecting Fantastic Four, is that these books have kind of shot up in terms of evaluation. Amazing Spider-Man #62, no significance of this book whatsoever, but I'm collecting all issues of Amazing Spider-Man, and I really like this cover as well. This is Medusa from the Inhumans cover, going against Spider-Man, classic Romita cover. So yeah, I mean, I was collecting all issues of Amazing Spider-Man anyway, so this wasn't really that big of a thing for me. Another first appearance book. And when I say first appearance, I literally mean first appearance of a character. It doesn't matter how minor the character is, really. As long as the character has some recognition within comic books, then it's not that bad of an investment, especially when you're only paying something like $10 for this book. This is Richard Dragon, Kung Fu Fighter #1, the first appearance of Richard Dragon. This will be the one of 2 books that I get from this series. Actually, one of maybe 3, because one is the first appearance of Richard Dragon. Issue 5, I believe, is the first appearance of Lady Shiva, which I will plan on getting. And then I believe issue 18 is the first appearance of Bronze Tiger, which I will get as well. So yeah, all 3 books, probably the only Richard Dragon Kung Fu Fighter books I will ever have in my collection. They're not that expensive at all. So this is Amazing Spider-Man issue number 18. No significance of this book. Actually, no, I think there is significance. I think this is the first appearance of Ned, and I think he becomes the Hobgoblin later on, and Ned is also in the Spider-Man movies currently. So yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a book. I mean, but like I said, I'm collecting all issues of Spider-Man, and issue 18 is one of them. One of the early ones that I will be, having in my collection. So yeah, it's not the greatest condition, but I'm also in the idea of collecting books, even if they're low grade, because I'm fine with that. I used to think that buying books only in high grade was the end all be all, but now that I'm in my later life of collecting or midlife of collecting, I now realize that not having everything in the perfect condition is not really feasible. It takes a lot of time. You're going to be stressed out about it a lot. As long as you get it for a good price for what the book's condition is, I think it's fine. Now, are there exceptions? Yes, like I wouldn't want my book missing story. If it's, excuse me, oh my God. If it's missing the back cover, I can make an exception to that depending on the book. My Amazing Spider-Man #3, the first Dr. Octopus, it's missing the back cover, and I'm fine with that because it doesn't miss any of the story of the book. Yes, it's not considered completed, but if I'm paying below a premium, if I'm paying below what the book is worth, then that's fine because you can always upgrade in the future. And low grade is better than no grade, in my opinion. When you have these books and you're able to get them, but you refuse to get them because they're not of a certain condition, you don't have to do that. You can always upgrade later on and then sell the lower grade. And that's one thing I have been super stressed about always, is getting something in a high grade and having the highest grade of everything. And it's just not worth it, honestly. You're spending more money, you're being stressed about finding the best deal. And I said this to my local comic book shop owner about 3 weeks ago or so, because he saved me a House of Secrets 92. I've been on the hunt for that book all year long. And I never find those in the wild, but I found that one in the wild. And I told him at the beginning of the year, before he even got it, that I was looking for a book around that copy of that book around the $500 to $600 range. A lower grade copy didn't matter to me. And he said, okay. And he found the book, and it had writing all over it, like a marker writing all over it, which I guess could be cleaned and pressed, and could it be removed from the book if you clean and press it. But it was just in a low grade, and he was charging, I want to say $850. And to this day, that book is still in the local comic book shop. And he said he priced it that way just because of what he had to trade to get it. And, normal me back then would have just bought that book to begin with. And me now, who's kind of, overspending a lot of money for comic books and trying to find the best deals that they can, I said, well, I'll make my offer. I told you I wanted to spend around for $500 to $600. And that's sort of my offer. That's just what I was willing to spend for a comic book of that condition. Now, if it was higher grade, then maybe he could have gotten me to buy it. But in that condition, it was probably more like a 2.0, honestly. And I've seen book copies of House of Secrets 92 in it was ungraded. And I've seen copies of House of Secrets 92 on eBay graded at a 3.0 sell for the same price that he's charging for it. So sometimes you just have to take a deep breath, pause, think of what you're getting into, and just think before just immediately making a decision. I know a lot of comic book owners don't like it when customers check eBay and market prices before you buy a book, but at the same time, they do it too. If I pull a book out of the bin and I bring it to the cashier, they're going to do the same exact thing, and they're going to charge you for it. And sometimes it's going to be even higher than what the book is worth. So at the end of the day, you just got to do what's best for you, in a sense. I know that was a sort of a long rant, but this is the last book of the day. This is Marvel Premiere number 15. This is the first appearance of Iron Fist. So how about that? I got first appearance of Luke Cage and first appearance of Iron Fist in one video. I got the Brotherhood team up, so to speak. This was a decent copy. I think I paid $80 for it. So, I guess that's what it's around what it's worth. It's got a huge non-color. It has a little non-color break crease down the middle, which I guess I could get pressed out if I wanted to. But yeah, that's sort of been with me over this year. I've been a lot less stressed, and I mean, I've been buying less books to a degree, but the overall quality of the books that I'm buying has been much better. My trade paperback collection is increasing extramentally. I actually had to buy a few bookcases because I've been selling all my useless books, trading them into my local comic book shop, and then buying trade paperbacks to sort of fill in the gaps. It's I have a lot more space in my room now because a lot of the stuff is just being transferred to bookshelves, which take up less space. And I just have these books to sort of display on my wall or just keep in a small, like 2 small short boxes. I went from having 5 long boxes to just 2 short boxes. Could you imagine that? And those short boxes aren't even full. They're both like a third of the way full. And they're filled with high quality comic books. You know, the Spider-Mans, the Batmans. I have a Crow #1. And all the books you see today. So it's so not as stressful as it used to be. I'm not buying books every week now. I'm just buying them every once a month, maybe, if that. So it's just a good way to do it, in my opinion. I know a lot of other comic book collectors on YouTube. They show you their room, and it's like tables and tables of boxes of comics, and I'm like, oh man, that's a lot. I couldn't do that. So I mean, even if I had to downgrade to a small apartment, where are you going to fit all that? But yeah. So that's been what's been up with me lately. I probably will make a gaming video as well later on sometime, just to do like normal commentary and sort of check in on the state of gaming recently that I've been hit, and issues with the gaming industry that I've been having recently. So I'll eventually do that. But it's been good checking up with you guys. Like I said, I just want to remind everybody, if you did make it to the end of the video, type in a 1 in the chat. As a matter of fact, scratch that. If you made it to the real end, because I said scratch that, type in a super in the chat, and that's the acronym for Super Tiger. And I was just about to remind everybody, if you haven't, please check out my Super Tiger comic. Even if you just read the digital version on Global Comics, it would be a huge help to me in increasing viewership and just awareness of the book itself. And if you want to buy an actual book on my website, mcfarland-entertainment.com, I'll actually sign the book as well for y'all as well. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys. As always, I know I haven't been uploading as much, but I've been buying less books. But yeah, I really do appreciate you guys. The love and support as always. And I hope y'all have a great holidays. If I don't make another video, comic book related video that is, before the end of the year, I hope y'all have a great holidays as well. This has been your boy, the Black Phantom. Peace.